diplomacy has passed. The Helghast do not reason. They started this war when they invaded Vector, and it's up to us to conclude it.
Hey, what's up everyone? Recently, after the last 10 years, I have resurrected my PS3. With this brings us Killzone 2 that was originally released in February of 2009. I read older articles that Killzone was supposed to be a Halo killer. Well, I'm going to talk about my thoughts on this, what is Killzone like today, and do I think it's generally a good game? Well, I'm Andrew, and let's get into this. In short, I don't think this game was a Halo killer as they both have their own strengths and weaknesses, and this is not a comparison video. But what do I think of Killzone as a standalone game some almost 14 years later at the time of this video? Killzone brings a lot to the table that I think aged and did overall well. There's a cover system where you can lean and peek, so you can take a small breather and get back into the fight. I wish more games would do this as it makes the whole experience more immersive, because I think about the experience with paintball matches that I had in the past myself. On the topic of immersion, you play as Thomas Sevchenko, known as Sev, and I know I probably messed up his last name, but that doesn't matter to me. For the most part, you are not fighting this war alone. You work as a team, and the AI within your team is pretty good. They'll suppress fire, shoot targets, while you're in the process of reloading, and you never truly feel alone. You do feel like you're a part of some greater war and conflict between two large governments. Killzone also brings in some lore, which I think for a good game, to make it into an amazing game should have. I want to feel connected to the lore somehow, where I can understand better the what and the why of what's going on. Alright, so check this out because this caught my attention. The whole war is between two different races or nationalities. You're the Vectans fighting the Helghast. The Vectans are basically modern day humans, not really different from us. The Helghast, on the other hand, are mutated humans who came from the same place as the Vectans, but started a big war called the First Extrasolar War. The result was that they lost the war, were forcibly resettled on a barren planet known as Helghan. Most colonists died to the harsh conditions of starvation, dust storms, and anything else you could think of, but by the third generation of inhabitants, due to genetic conditioning, the Helghans were adapting to their world and came out physically stronger than they currently were. There's a lot more to it, but knowing their backstory makes me connected to the Killzone story and the lore that feeds some of my whys, which is greatly appreciated. Early in the PS3 lifecycle, Sony supported the 6-axis controller that enabled movement with the tilt of your controller. Killzone uses this feature in a few areas, and my first time around it threw me off, but this feature is used sparsely. There's a moment you need to adjust pressure valves, and another setting up a wall bomb to open up a path. There are a few areas where you step out of your first person role and control vehicles such as a tank, and I think I would have liked that a little bit more of it. The first person part feels good and polished, and nothing really to complain here other than the controls feel a little more stiff than I'm used to. This is not a Killzone problem, but I think the evolution of more modern video games as controls generally became more smoother. I love playing games from the 7th generation of consoles because to me, this is when graphics sided with stories with cinematics really took off. I just feel like this was a generation of games that came out that I still managed to find that blow me away. I mentioned graphics, and yeah, these graphics aged a bit, especially if you compared them to games such as Doom Eternal, but they're still beautifully done. Being a console exclusive, you can see the devs really utilize the PS3's capabilities, and even today, the game looks good. I believe the game runs at 30 frames per second, and it's good enough for me, but if you're used to 60 or 120 frames per second now, this can be off-putting. Sound and music are up there too. I'm not going to spoil the story as I think it's worth your time, but from the moment the game starts to it ends, take my word that the music corresponds to what's going on. It's a first-person shooter, so expect to fight lots of baddies in area after area. From the moment you start, it's chaos. War never really goes as planned, and expect to adapt and overcome your obstacles. I have a long backfill of games, and because I enjoyed Killzone 2 so much, I'm going to eventually carve out time for Killzone 3. Alright guys, this is Andrew, and I'll see you at the next video.
Never again endure their oppression. Never again endure their tyranny. We will strike without warning and without mercy, fighting as one hand, one heart, one soul. We will shatter their dreams and haunt their nightmares. drenching our ancestors' graves with their blood. And as our last breath tears at their lungs, as we rise again from the ruins of our cities, they will know Helgan belongs to the Helghast.